Cool. So let's begin. I think some people joining later will admit them as they come in. Cool. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Frontiers in Sports Business speaker session. My name is Nikhil Jha, and I've been a sports entrepreneur and an educator. And seeing how difficult it is to get into this sports business to understand the nuances, I recently started something called the Playmaker Foundation, which is going to be a resource of everything that you want to know about the sports industry in India, and workshops like we did one yesterday, webinars like this one, white papers, and some academic research and courses and all of that. So I'm delighted to have Paurush as the first guest today to kick things off in this double build speaker session. Today's topic is around the esports and gaming trends in India. So Paurush has been one of the inspiring, not just sports entrepreneurs, but inspiring entrepreneurs in India. So welcome, Paurush, and thanks for taking our time for this session.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before we start the interaction with Paurush, just a quick introduction. I'm sure all of you would have heard of Sportskeeda and visit the site regularly. And it is not just one of the biggest sports websites in India, but globally. And about 2 years back, it clocked about 1 billion page views. So that's extremely commendable, and that's an amazing achievement. Paurush himself started it like probably all the startup stories that you hear in 2009 back in a college dorm. Then he quit his MBA placement process to continue doing what he loved, and through that journey he has built something very very amazing, and one of the biggest sports startup stories to come out of India. So welcome again, Paurush, and we'll kick things off with a few questions. In case I missed on some achievement, please feel free to add that, because there's a whole list of that. So I just cover the highlights.
It's fine. Thank you very much.
Cool, awesome. So the way we will do this session is that we will do it in almost like a fireside chat format. I'll have some 4-5 questions that I'll ask Paurush. Feel free to just enter in your questions in the chat box, and in the last 10-15 minutes we'll just take up questions from the audience, and then Paurush will answer those. Right. So to kick things off, Paurush, first the first question is always going to be a look back, retrospective view on how things started and how they are going. So it's been more than a decade. In your decade's experience of starting up, following your dreams, running Sportskeeda, what are some of those 2 or 3 trends, those milestones that you want to share, and the trends that you observed across the years, and how you adapted to them?
So I'll quickly give a recap of how we started.
Right.
So the whole idea was to create a multi-sports website, because I saw that there's a market gap. Back in 2009, we had Cricinfo, we had Cricbuzz. We also had a lot of media companies covering sports digitally, but they used to have a cricket tab and not really a sports tab. So, and no one was really trying to become the largest sports website of India. And I thought I really wanted to do a startup, and that was decided, and what to do is actually came later. So this idea kind of stuck, and I thought that I can give it a shot. Uh, uh, One thing which I did is I kind of created like a 2-year kind of a period for me, that I give myself 2 years, and if I can make something out of it, that's good. Else I'll go back to a professional kind of a career. And exactly in 2 years we actually got like a VC funding of $1 million way back in 2010, 2011, I guess 2011 near Diwali. And so that was a big turning point for us. So the whole idea earlier was to create the largest sports site in India. I think in way back in 2014 and 15, we decided that we need to kind of shift the idea to become one of the biggest in the world, because an all sports website in India, the scope is a bit less, but like if you compare Bleacher and Sportskeeda, if you guys have heard of Bleacher Report, their business is really like tens or 20 times bigger than Sportskeeda's, right? Cool. So, and as in everyone knows Sportskeeda, hopefully, I don't need to tell you about the product. So coming back to the trends, right? So when we started, right? So any media company, be it a Netflix or a newspaper or a digital media company, they have three pillars. You can dissect or bisect any, you can break down any media company into three pillars. One is the content. That a media company always, the core pillar is always the content of what, right? Second is traction. How many readers, users, subscribers, or whatever you call it, right? And third is monetization. So for Netflix, you know the content, you know they have millions of subscribers, and third is obviously it's a paid model, right? They don't have ads. For a newspaper, it's content circulation and the direct sales team. Every media company is a direct sales team. Similarly, for Sportskeeda or for any digital media company, there is always the revenue part always comes from either programmatic, the automatic ads. If few of you guys know about AdSense, so AdSense is the first level of monetization for any digital media company. But then as you grow in the stack, you get you get integrated with real time bidding, and it's called ad exchange revenue, right? Second is your direct sales team. So, so I'm coming back to the point. So the trend that what we have seen in the last 10 years is that, when I used to talk to brand managers, chief marketing officers 10 years back, they used to have 1, 2 to 5% of their marketing budget allocated to digital, right? This has drastically changed to 20, 30, 40%, and some companies actually have 100% digital marketing budgets. So that's a huge change, and obviously we did saw that coming. So, and that's why we have always been kind of clear that we always wanted to be a digital player and not branch into anything which is offline. So that is one. Second, which I actually kind of bet on when I started Sportskeeda is, so I'm not sure if you agree or not, but that it was true maybe 2010 2009 when I started, that Sportskeeda follows US, and we are maybe 5-10 years behind of that culture, right? I'm not sure if it's totally true now. So I kind of took a bet on the fact that India, from being a one sport country, will actually become a multi-sport country like US. In India, sports is a hobby. Still, I guess it's still a hobby. In US, it's a culture, right? So I took a bet that India will become a multi-sport country. Though frankly, it has not happened yet. But there are good promises. India will eventually become a multi-sport country. When I say, obviously you will not agree. A lot of you guys must be following other sports, but sitting here, me and I am Kolkata guys, we are the cream, right? We follow multi-sports. But in India, right, 95% of the media budgets are allocated to cricket or even the user base. So you can compare a badminton user base or a football user base versus a cricket user base. So India is still a 95% kind of a cricket country, and you can say we are still a one sport country. But I do see that it will change. We actually created an NFL team in Sportskeeda recently, and we never expected that we will have many Indians applying for it. And they know their stuff, right?
They played a lot of Madden, I guess.
I might be, right? So these are the two major trends. Esports, obviously, we'll discuss it later. And esports is something that I was also kind of scared of the whole market, that what's gonna esports gonna do. But I think with the pandemic, we were able to kind of latch onto that train also. And so these are the three trends which I have seen.
Right.
Yeah. So one is the marketing budgets are shifting to digital. India hopefully becomes multi and fast sooner the better for Sportskeeda. And then the third is obviously the esports trend.
Right. Awesome. So we'll discuss the esports part in detail, but I just had a follow-up question to your observations. I remember early on, you had a lot of focus on Indian sports as well. So was it more out of, let's say, an intent that we will not just focus on cricket and we'll figure out, even if, let's say, there aren't too many readers, we will make it one of our vision or focus areas to focus on things other than cricket? Or was it let's say, an informed call that you saw that maybe?
Yeah, so I call it an informed and a wrong call, maybe. So see, we actually did a lot of effort in promoting Indian sports in the initial years of sports, and we still do. As in at a much larger scale than when we started, but as a percentage of what we do, it's less. So the whole idea was that we already have a Cricinfo and Cricbuzz, and why do we need a Sportskeeda, right? So we actually did not have cricket for the first 2 months of Sportskeeda, and we focused on all the other sports in India. But then I quickly realized that if I only do Indian sports and not cricket, Sportskeeda is not going to become like a solid business. So we then our theory was that let's start cricket, and from cricket they will start actually reading all other sports also when they come to Sportskeeda.
Right.
But then as actually the business scope in all other sports in India is pretty less. If you have to make a digital media company successful only on only in India and non-cricket, it will be difficult.
Okay, cool. So that then brings us to the second question, which is something that you touched upon just a few seconds earlier. Being a sports company, and as someone who is involved in the ecosystem, of course, sports was one of the most sports sector was one of the most hit when it comes to what happened this year with the pandemic, because all sports stopped and hence sports consumption stopped, and everything around sports took a massive hit. And because it's not one of those sectors which is considered essential, not a lot of let's say focus or attention was was given to that. So what was your thought process, your observation around March, April, when all of that started happening? And then how did you sort of adapt and figure out what's next for Sportskeeda?
Yeah, so we were like really prepared and preparing for the IPL to happen, and then hell broke loose, kind of, right? Because IPL is like a big event for any sports media company in India. It's a huge money driver, attraction driver, and it was tough. Frankly, those 2 months, we had several projects in Sportskeeda that let's create this application, let's start this, let's start that, and a lot of them were paused. And the only thing that we can actually start was esports.
Yeah.
Right? And I was actually trying to stay away from esports because I always thought, it's something that I'll not understand, because I myself am not a great gamer. I think I suck at gaming, frankly. So I've been practicing chess since last 10 years, and my rank is same. So yes, but then I think that was the only thing to do, and I think sitting at home, we were more efficient, I guess. We have been profitable from last 4-5 years, and we got a funding last year also, which we didn't need, frankly. And, our investor kind of changed. So we were in a comfortable position, as in we were able to do some checks and balances so that our losses are in control. And the only thing that we can do was start an esports section, right? And I think it just from like we used to have a small 1-member team earlier doing esports content. and you used to get 1,000 visits a day.
Mhm.
In 6 months, that 1,000 visits become 1,000,000 visits a day, and the team is now the one of the largest sports content team right now at Sportskeeda. So it's a huge learning curve for us. But overall, I think pandemic, I really feel I used to spend a obtuse amount of time or wrong amount of time on HR issues in politics, in things which are really not adding to the company, and all that went away, right? And I think we become more productive. So frankly, Sportskeeda has grown 3x in the last 10 months.
Amazing. Okay.
Touch wood. Not many companies can say that. Feel ashamed also sometimes when people tell me how are you doing, and say I'm looking myself, so I feel very bad. But we are actually done very well, and I think a lot of maybe the ailments in Sportskeeda, like spending more time on HR issues, come to office in time. But I understood that you really don't need. So we actually plan to be a full work from home company.
Okay, amazing. So
even after coronavirus, I don't think we want to call anyone to the office. We stay there. Like ये ऐसा चल रहा है जैसे क्रिकेट मैच में होता है ना कि जहाँ बैठे हुए नहीं बैठे रहो. Sorry,
nice.
people in the audience are not.
Maybe that's that's cool. So that's a great story in terms of acting quickly, pivoting, and then figuring out what's next. But before we head into that, for people like me, and as you said that you were also not aware of what esports was. So for people like me, can you break it down in like a couple of minutes that what is esports, what is gaming, how are they different?
I can actually have a very good answer, I think, because I got this from Akshat Rathi. He runs Nodwin, that's the biggest esports company in India.
Right.
So see, it's like that is how I understood, and it's making sense for me. So see, what are sports? They are game formats, right? You have a football format, a cricket format, a tennis format, right? And no one owns football, right? In FIFA or ICC do not own cricket IP, right? They are formats and they are controlled by bodies. There are teams, there are event companies. IPL is an event company, if you look at it. BCCI is a board and IPL is an event. There are teams, there are players, there are media companies, right? These are the essential parts of a sports ecosystem. Esports is very, very same. Esports is actually parallel, right? So in esports also you have games, you have formats, right? So Dota is a format, League of Legends is a format, FIFA is a format, PUBG is a awesome format, Fortnite, right? There are several games. So these are all formats. The only difference between these two is that there no one owns that format, right? There are controlling bodies. Here the developer or they call the publisher.
Right.
So EA is obviously a famous publisher. You must have played EA games. There's a publisher of PUBG. Tencent is a huge publisher. So these companies own they are called the publishers, and they own that format, right? Now, if you look at it, millions of people play cricket, millions of people play badminton. But when the best cricket players and best badminton players play, it's broadcasted on TV, and millions of people watch it, right? Similarly, if you know PUBG, right? India has right now minimum 1 crore Indians will be playing PUBG. There are around some, I think 20 crore. I'm not right. I might be wrong with the numbers, but there's a huge population of PUBG players in India. Obviously, they are crying with the China and the whole ban. They have shifted to other games, but there is a huge population playing these. They are called the battle royal format. And these folks, right? When you have so many people playing one format, they actually love to see the best players play. So they go to Twitch, they go to YouTube, they go to Facebook, and they see the best players play, right? So it is the same thing, right? It's a format, and the best players when they play, it's called esports. As simple as that. Professional gaming is esports. If you are looking for a two-word answer, esports is the professional gaming, right? So if you look at it, right, there's a whole parallel. Here only that you have FIFA, you have BCCI, you have Pakistan Cricket Board, right? Here you will have publishers. There you have cricket boards, like governing boards. Everything else is same. You have event organizers in sports. You have event organizers in esports. You have teams in sports. You have teams in esports. You have players. You have players here, right? You have format. You have a format here. One is played physically. One is played online.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's how you should look at esports. That's all. It's super parallel to sports. That's it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that. And in terms of, so if I have to draw a parallel between sports and esports, the broadcasting part is something that happens on, let's say, the decentralized platforms like Twitch, as in you don't really need an ESPN star or someone to broadcast it live. That because of the internet, that thing has been democratized.
Yes, I'll not say democratized because even top esports events, you can actually see few of them on Hotstar, which they have bought rights. The way they buy rights from BCCI, they have bought rights from Nodwin for a few esports events. So few of the famous and the top esports events are actually the broadcast rights are sold and bought the way it is in sports. But in general, because they play so much, right? There are a lot of tournaments which are hosted on YouTube, on Twitch. So yeah,
Okay.
it is a bit democratized, but obviously they are not paying $1.5 billion for any sport event in India right now. But maybe I think in 10 years they will.
Right. Awesome. So, in terms of the current trend, so recently I came across a news that it has been, I think it has been made an official sport in Asia, right? In the Asian Games. And
yeah, Asian Games though already it happened. Last Asian Games had few esports tournaments. Don't ask me the details. I also don't know. But in 2026 Olympics, they have a plan to have esports into like in 2026 Olympics will have esports. I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not, but I think there will be.
Right. So in terms of what Sportskeeda does in esports, is it limited to content, or do you also have plans to go upstream or downstream in terms of events or in terms of something else?
We currently are an out and out media company. So we do articles, videos, and any media format. We do plan to stay like that. We will not venture into events most probably, but yeah, I cannot comment on that.
All right, don't worry. So always keep your options open. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
In terms of, so there's a relevant question, so I'll just put it across right here. You were mentioning about PUBG being, of course, one of the most popular sports. So the ban on PUBG, did it affect Sportskeeda in some way, or there was enough audience to fill into the other sports that you didn't really feel the pinch of PUBG being banned in India?
We felt it a bit. Maybe our esports section, I think, is feeling it a bit by 10% or something. But it's actually growing rapidly for us. So we don't feel it that much. But unfortunately, I think the government is not aware of the whole esports ecosystem in India. And they should have kind of really left PUBG, let it run. It's something good actually, because it was really building that the ecosystem in India for esports. There are see, actually, you will have I know, like I follow esports, and there are some influencers on YouTube with 6 million followers, 2 million followers, and we see the pulse of these guys. They are so passionate about the celebrities they follow, right? These guys are obviously not a happy bunch, and there are a lot of people. So good for Modi that they are not at the voting age, maybe mostly, but many of them are. So yeah, I really feel bad for this decision.
You know that video is being recorded, right? We might put this online.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Okay.
Never mind. Cool. So in terms of what's next, so in terms of let's say you have now fully onboarded on that esports trend, what does it mean for, let's say, the normal sports, the thing that you have been doing for the past 9-10 years? And the second part of the question is, what do you see happening on the future? What are some of the trends that you are observing and you can take a bet on?
Yeah, so see, we for Sportskeeda, we are doing well, and we're gonna invest in content in all sports and esports. Still, esports is not a majority revenue earner for us, but we see that as a major focus for us. But on an overall level, right, leaving Sportskeeda apart, if you look at the sports and esports ecosystem, and with the whole pandemic, I really feel esports is going to be a become is will become a big challenge for sports. And if sports, the way it is a culture and the importance it has in our lives, right? It will get challenged with esports, because esports, one thing different in esports is that they just keep innovating and new games come all the time, right? Like, to move from a 5-day test match to a T20 cricket, I think it took 100 years, right? In they evolve in every month, esports. So they are coming up with exciting, better games, exciting games, more better formats on a monthly basis, right? And I think there are half of the Chinese actually play games on a like a regular basis, right? And I think there is a trend that, or there's a forecast that in India also around 500, like half of India basically, or one third of India will actually actively play like games every day, right? But one third of India cannot play cricket every day, right? So I really feel esports is going to change the ecosystem a lot, and especially in India, which is a one sport country, right? It's sport is a hobby and not a culture. So that is one thing for sure. I can't predict that sports will, like, the whole ecosystem will go down or something like that, because I think with this pandemic and a lot of professionals spending more time at home, there will be actually also more time to focus on health and fitness and sports, because
Right.
that is the only way a person actually can become, like, stay healthy. Right? So that is one point where I think sports will get a bonus with this pandemic, that people actually are playing physically also more. So I don't know which is bigger and how will it pan out. But yes, they are obviously, fighting for the same time span, attention span of the audience.
Right. So I will, and because the second part is something that I have a fair experience with, so I will attest to the fact that not many people play in India, and I think in the coming years also, I hope that changes. But that's a difficult proposition. And as you said that in the end, everything is a function of time. How much time are people spending in doing what? So if this thing competes with that, if as the Netflix founder famously said, that we compete with sleep, right? So I think one of those things will happen, that we have limited finite amount of time to do hobby or recreation or whatever, and maybe one thing will replace the other.
The most exciting format will win.
Yeah, absolutely. And just you shared an interesting insight. I had a follow-up question there. The sports industry in India is majorly fan driven, right? So the consumption of sports content, we follow heroes and we like to read about their stories. We like to follow scores. But what I'm hearing from you in esports is that the players themselves are content consumers, as in someone like me will not know whatever a Virat Kohli equivalent of an esports player is. I will not just indulge in esports for the function of watching or reading up about it, right? I'll do it because it's almost like a voyeurism kind of thing, or a transposition of me as a player, that yeah.
So see, in cricket, right, not many people can compare themselves with Virat Kohli in the 10 aspects of batting.
Right.
Right. But the PUBG players, right? Suppose there's this Soul Mortal. He has 6 million followers on YouTube and he's a pretty good player. He plays all the time. I think every day he plays maybe one game, right? So all the PUBG players, there are 10 aspects of maybe that shooting game, right? And so they can actually compare themselves with Soul Model stats.
Right.
So they actually engage more,
Right.
they connect more,
Right.
and
Right.
we have seen comments on Sportskeeda and YouTube. They will die to play one game with that person,
Right. Right.
right? And they know that they can actually play with him because maybe they are in some aspects they are better than Soul
Right.
Model.
Right.
That
Right.
person.
Right.
So they are frankly I do feel the connection between the fans and then the celebrity is more stronger in esports. But that's my assumption.
Right, because see, I think, as you said, not a lot of research has gone into sports in India, so we don't really know how many people actually play sports. But I would peg that number to be somewhere around 1.5% from whatever data I have over the past 10 years, right? And people like. But in terms of watching, we all know that 500, 600 million people watch like a World Cup final, or we have seen the number of concurrent users on Hotstar whenever a big match is there. It reaches the population of Portugal. So people like my dad or my mom or whoever else, they are sports fans just for watching the game, for watching the heroes in action, because they're entertained by it, or maybe they're attached emotionally to it. But what I'm hearing from you and sort of learning about esports is that in esports case, a lot of players and fans are almost interposition, that someone who plays is also a fan, someone who will play and then see what the more famous people are saying. So is there like a huge overlap between people who play and people who consume content, which is unlike sports?
I think it will be 100% overlap
100. Okay.
because those who I really feel that there will be 100%. I might be wrong. It might be 95%, but I'll be surprised if it's below 95. Because you will only enjoy an esport when you know the game in and out. When you want to know कि ये कैसे कर लेता है, right? Things like that. So I feel it will be, because anyways it's a one-to-one watching, right? In a sports ecosystem, it's on TV, and if someone is watching a cricket match, then everyone else also gets involved, and most of them might not be cricket players, or they don't know understand the format. But here I think most of the consumption happens on a device, on a laptop or a mobile, right? It's always one-to-one, and why will that person watch it once when he doesn't actually has played the game at all? So I think it will be 95 to 100% who actually play the game
Right.
are watching the game.
Okay, awesome. So just heading into the final set of questions between that I had, and then we can probably take up a few questions. So everyone who's here, please keep adding questions to the chat. I can already see a few, so I'll just pick them up and ask Porish towards the last 10-15 minutes. Porish, we have heard, all of us have heard that the pandemic accelerated a lot of things in these 8-9 months, and a lot of things that probably were 4 or 5 years away. They have the timeline has shifted, and they'll be happening now. So, is there something that you can share from, let's say, the sports media or the esports media perspective, something that you were assuming is 4 or 5 years away, but it just happened right now? It's right around the corner.
Well, the biggest sports site in the country was forced to start esports, and it's doing pretty well in esports, right? So it's pretty evident. And I like the biggest esports company in India, Nordwin. So frankly, he was also like gloating that IPL is cancelled and all the marketing budgets are coming to me, right? So I do think the esports trend will, I think it has got like a 2-year kind of a skip. It just advanced itself 2 years ahead. And digital companies are doing well, most of them, unless they had an offline part to it, which is not, which can't be fulfilled with the pandemic. So yes, I think I've already discussed about esports. So that's one trend that's gonna accelerate a lot. The prediction is that maybe half or 70% youth will be actually playing games or they're already like 20-30% already playing, and it will become half. Right? So that's going to accelerate a lot. I think that's I'm not very good at predicting future. So
yeah. This is something that we discussed offline. So I'll let you off the hook. Don't worry.
One thing I'm scared of is AI, because there are some three companies pitching to Sportskeeda that why don't you let the machines write articles,
Wow.
and and it's already live. So I know few companies, I know few sections, financial websites definitely have that. There are a lot of articles and reports, match reports also can be written by AI, right? And 1 minute after the event is closed. So I'm pretty scared of that. I really know how to run traditional content.
Right.
If everyone can, because everyone can publish that content, right? It's just the algorithm.
Right. And I think that GPT-3 demos have created a lot of flutter, and content is, of course, one of the things that relatively easy to build a model in. So I guess interesting times. Let's see how we adapt to that. Cool. So the final question, and this is hopefully to whoever is looking forward to creating a career in the sports industry in India. Paresh, this was a more sort of career advice, your reflection as a founder, someone who has been involved in this industry for a decade. That what are some of the things that you would like to share? Some of the lessons from your journey, and if somebody is wanting to start a career in the business of sports, what do you have to share with the participants?
From the job perspective, as in how to get into sports?
How to get into the sports industry, and probably a follow-up would be the entrepreneurship part also.
Got it. So see, sports industry is a subset of the media industry, right? Be it BCCI, be it a KKR, or any IPL team or a sports team, right? If you look at it, most of them do function as a media company, right? They are an event selling media, they're selling content, and they're pitching to advertisers and sponsors, right? A media company has all the functions like any other company, right? Be it a finance, be it marketing, technology. Media companies actually, I like a digital media companies has, I think, many more functions than uh, normal company, right? It's a bit of a complex business, because for any media company, there are three pillars, as I said. Content, there is traction, and then there is monetization, right? So you have sales openings, you have finance openings, you have tech openings. So I think if anyone is interested, right, they should understand which part of the sports business they really want to join, and understand their business really, really well, right? It's very easy actually. What is KKR's business? Right? The revenue model. The revenue model comes from Star, whatever BCCI gives them. They can win the tournament and make more money, ticket sales, then they have brand sales, right? That's all, right? So you can break it down into what all sections they will have. They will obviously have a solid sales team. They are looking at fan engagement, so they want to have a digital wing. A lot of sports teams actually are valued by the amount of social media presence they have, right? So they need a solid social media team. They create a lot of content. Sometimes, a lot of times, actually, IPL teams and EPL teams are competition to us, because they are also coming up with content, and we are also coming up with content, right? So if you basically choose which company you want to join, right? Understand the business model, understand what all sections they will have. Look at their website or wherever on LinkedIn, what all jobs they have, and you will understand, which one you can apply to. And you being like, if someone is doing that, I'm assuming he'll be a good, like a solid sports fan, right? So, and these teams, they are very, very particular about who they hire. They want to hire actually people who are fan of their team, right? So just, I think, send in your resume, you'll get the job.
As easy as that, right? Okay. Now, in terms of the entrepreneurship part, and which is even tougher, I think you have had a much more successful run than I had. But what do you have to share about someone wanting to start up in sports?
So in sports or any other domain, right? So doing a startup, I think you need to. I think I just coined this few days back, so I'll share it. I'll see if it makes sense. You can tell me if it doesn't make sense or not. So I think doing a startup starts with like not a lot of knockout rounds. It's like a game. So it starts with a knockout round and then it gets into a career mode.
Right. Good analogy. I'll steal this. I'll use it in a lot of places.
Yeah. So basically, if you need to have commitment to your idea, right? You need to give yourself time. I gave myself 2 years, right? And if you are motivated, your idea is good. Just give it time. I really feel I see a lot of entrepreneurs. They come in for a quick buck. You don't do a startup to make money. You don't do startup for fame. If you really know that this space, I know this is I can do well here. I can, there is a market for which people will find which people will pay for, right? Do it for that. Do it for that passion. That passion of doing a successful business, right? If it becomes a $1 billion company or 100 crore company or whatever company, I think that depends on a lot of external factors.
Right.
So I really feel just do your research well, give it good time, and just keep doing it.
Okay, awesome. I think
I don't know if this makes sense, but yeah.
This makes a lot of sense because you have broken down into the simplest of things. I think people complicate it a lot, but it is as simple as that. That if you have the drive, just give it time and don't be there for like a quick this thing that itna funding uthana hai, ye karna hai. Just give it some time.
I always believe that a lot of people say that funding kahan se milega. Frankly, the answer question should be problem kahan se milega? कौन सा problem solve करे, कैसे solve करे? If you are able to do that, right, money will actually chase you.
Right.
Money will actually money chases good startups. There are a lot of investment funds available right now. A lot of VCs are scratching their head ki I don't have a good startup to invest.
Right. Right. Awesome. So just before I take up the questions from in the chat box, I just had one small question which I missed out on earlier. Since your last year, for those of you who don't know, Nazara Games became a majority shareholder. So in terms of what that has changed in your focus, and let's say in the future, I'm sure you would know much more about the sports betting landscape and the future of it in India. So do you think that how has your focus shifted since that event, and B, are you prepping for sports betting also becoming one of the biggest industries in India, or that's not something under consideration right now?
So first, I think esports is something that Nazara focuses on, and that was one more reason why we actually got into esports. That's the kind of the only change. Then I really like working with Nazara because they're a bit strict investors. A lot of VCs you find, right? You will they're like, take money, give me money. They don't really get involved into VCs are in the end financial investors.
Yeah.
So they give you 1x, they expect 4x in amount of period of time, and they put several bets, and few of them work, and VCs make money, right? But they don't really get involved into the business. Zara is more involved. They will kind of put pressure, and which really works for a few companies, right? So that's the only thing which worked for us, and obviously esports is something which Nazara has kind of dominance in India. With Nordwin is also their what do you say subsidiary. Okay. Your second question, sorry, I forgot.
About sports betting. Do you think that is a viable path, or that is too far off?
Yeah, so sports betting is illegal in India.
Mhm.
There is a lot of lobbying going on to make it legal because government is missing on a lot of taxes.
Mhm.
So it's a huge business actually. So I think a lot of you must have read about how successful Dream 11 is,
Mhm.
right? And obviously they have 80-90% market cap.
Mhm.
I think it's a $2-3 billion industry now. Fantasy cricket, what Dream 11 was able to create, right?
Mhm.
Hats off to them, really.
Mhm.
Seen them grow through like in the last 10 years. This illegal sports betting industry in India is few times that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And all of this money is going to your betway.com and some 10 websites are there, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's a huge money and government is not able to tax it,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And government cannot go after individual people who are betting on these sites.
Right.
It doesn't make sense, or scales, like we can't just go after them. So India is like the Indian government is missing on a lot of taxation, and that's the only reason why they will consider making it legalized in India.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if it's in a proper framework and it's controlled, then you can actually manage more ills of betting rather than you are managing right now. Because right now it's in non-managed, right? If
Yeah.
someone puts in a crore on a betway.com
Mhm.
or any other site, and he loses and he does something awful,
Mhm.
so like you can't even, government cannot even create a policy around that, right?
Right. Right.
Obviously they can maybe control through the payment gateways and something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I don't have any opinion on sports like it becoming a big thing for sports data, because right now it is, I don't have a, we don't know when it will
Yeah.
become
The
like,
horizon is unclear, and as you said, that future is not something that you want to delve in. So we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So we'll head into the final sort of 10 minutes. I'll just take up a few questions that have come in. And again, all of you, if you have more questions, please feel free to put that in. So one of the questions from Manu was around the consumption span of digital content. So he asked that has the consumption span for digital content dropped by a considerable amount? And he gives an example that earlier with Sportskeeda, he has observed a change in his usage pattern, that he used to read a lot of articles, but later on he moved to Instagram scroll and reading that on social media itself. So how has that impacted you, or has it impacted you at all?
No, I don't think there is any pattern like this. So what I have seen with Sportskeeda usage over, like, because his journey with Sportskeeda, right?
Mhm.
I've seen that a lot of young folks read a lot of sports content.
Mhm.
When they get into jobs,
Mhm.
they kind of stop reading that much. Some continue, some they change their
Yeah,
hobby.
tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people go through that, and a lot of my old friends say, I used to read Sportskeeda now, but I don't have time for sports now, so I don't read. So maybe that's happened. But overall, Sportskeeda actually, we are clocking 100 million visits a month, or month on month,
Mhm.
even without IPL also. So we
Mhm.
are doing pretty well, and the time spent on Sportskeeda is same, as in if you are landing on an opinion or a listicle piece, it's around 3 to 4 minutes it takes to read that article.
Mhm.
If it's a news piece, then around a minute.
Mhm.
So it has kind of remained the same, which is a challenge for us.
Mhm.
We actually are like a one-way site.
Mhm.
People get the go.
Mhm.
So we want to have users having more interaction with Sportskeeda, and we are figuring it out.
Right.
Maybe try to convert it to something like a LinkedIn, which has more interaction around content,
Right. Right.
solid comment system and everything. But it's, I think, a bit far for, like, we are developing it. Let's see if it's successful or not.
Yeah, I hope it happens soon. I'll then restart reading a lot of content. Yeah, so an add-on question to this one, in terms of you mentioned that a lot of marketing budget got shifted, and that was obviously one of your focus areas. So in terms of your involvement with the media publishers or the brands who do ad campaigns, is it more like a ad platform where they get some inventory and they can put in their ads, or are you also involved in almost like a proxy a sports media agency, ad agency kind of, where you help them design campaigns that will convert much better on your website?
Yes, so we do, yeah. I'll not call it that proxy sports media agency. Basically, a lot of brands come to us directly that we are doing a campaign with Saina Nehwal or some sports athlete, right? And we are doing radio, TV, and all, and we are doing Facebook. What can we do with Sportskeeda, right? So we come up with a custom plan that obviously banner ads is the major offering for us. Then, but we do also create a lot of content, right? And then we know what content works, what works with the audience, and then the athletes that they have. We create videos with them. So we do create a custom plan.
Okay,
So
all right.
you can say a proxy sports media agency, but yeah, basically we call it custom solution.
Right. Understood. So I think that would be one of the divisions, or one of the ways in which you involve more deeply with the brands and try and increase their ROI. So that's what it's about, right? So one question related to the esports discussion that we were having from Raghav was around the inflection point sort of thing. That would you say that the esports industry in India is at a stage that the IT industry was in the 90s, or do we still have some time to actually see that boom and in terms of the upward take and trend?
No, I'll never compare it with the IT industry.
Okay.
I think the scales are very different. So I don't have the numbers. I don't know how much. I don't know if someone has the numbers here. They can tell me what is the turnover of IT industry in India. But it's a solid percentage of our GDP, I guess, right? The whole sports industry. Does anyone know the percentage of sports industry in India? No, because I think might be far less than a percentage.
Yeah, I've tried my best over 10 years to arrive at a number, but I have failed.
Yeah, it must be pretty less, right? And esports has to catch up to the sports number. So the scales we are talking are very different. I don't think we should compare it with IT.
Right, understood. But generically speaking, not comparing it to the IT industry, but in terms of, let's say, the inflection point of growth, do you see, is it already on the upward tick, or do you think that inflection point is still some time away, that we will suddenly see a massive rise in esports consumption, playing, whatever the metrics are?
I'm not good at this again, but
all right.
I think we are maybe at somewhere at the inflection point right now. Because see, actually a lot of people actually confuse between esports, betting, fantasy gaming. All they're very different, and even gaming, right? So, and if you combine all of the four are on the upward tick. Be it fantasy cricket, be it online betting, right? Be it your rummy circles and all, they're doing pretty well. I think they just raked in a lot of money during the pandemic. All the rummy companies and the poker companies, online poker companies, and then the last one is just gaming, right? So all of the four are on a huge upward tick. They might be somewhere in the inflection point, but that's okay. I think it's increasing for sure.
All right. And just to close things, I think slightly off-topic question, but I'm very sure you get this a lot of times about the name itself. So because you're an international brand now, about the second part in the name, is that something that people understand? Is that something that if you could go back, you would have chosen a different, more global name, or that is received? People also understand it internationally as well.
Yeah, so I think answer will be again yes and no. So the idea behind Sportskeeda actually was, I was a big pagalguy.com fan. I don't know if it still exists, but I thought that if this guy can have this name called Pagal Guy and have a very successful website, let me have a name which has a good recall value. People when they hear about Sportskeeda, they smile. So I think that really helped us initially, right? It doesn't mean anything at all in US or anywhere outside the. So that's also like what is Alta Vista or Google.com for you, right? But they work, right? So or what is Yahoo.com? So it doesn't really matter in US because I'm saying US because we really focus on that market a lot. And I don't really like very general names, sports, like normal sportsnews.com. I believe it should really have an identity and it makes sense. So sometimes we do feel, sometimes few brand managers feel that local website is not into sports, he does not know our numbers. So sometimes they do feel that. I feel sorry for them.
Right.
But I because we see in the end our dream is to actually make it a really huge global player. Right? And few people will search what is Sportskeeda, what the name is will be.
Right.
I think if I'm able to do that with a Sportskeeda name, I'll feel proud because I'm actually a nationalist kind of. That was the idea for Sportskeeda, promote Indian sports.
Okay.
At least naam to reh gaya.
Really great, awesome. So I guess we just have a minute left. I'll just wrap things up. So thanks a lot, Paurush, and it was quite insightful. And along with me, I guess a lot of people have learned about esports and gaming and part of what the future holds.
Yeah, I'm not good at this. I hope because
no, it was amazing. So it was a great experience, and I'm sure the others will also agree to that. And so great having you here, and we'll hear more from you, and we wish you all the success in the next phase of growth for Sportskeeda. So thanks a lot for taking out time, and thanks to the Seven Lakes Fest team for organizing this, for giving us a forum to discuss about the sports business. So those of you who like this session, tomorrow we have another session, the second part of this webinar with Arvind Iyengar, who is the founder of Sports Interactive, and we'll be talking about fan engagement. So do join in for that. With that, Paurush, thanks a lot, and I'll catch up with you later, probably sharing notes on what can be done in sports in India.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shivani, in case you want to take over and have a few closing remarks and all of that, so please feel free to do that. Otherwise, we'll just end the session and move forward.
We'd like to thank all the participants for joining the session. As Nikhil said, we have another second part of the session tomorrow by Arvind Iyengar. So we invite you all for that too, and the link would be shared on your mails. Thank you.
Okay. So thanks everyone. Good evening, and see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.